Hey guys, how's it going? Eric will be here soon. Hey Sydney, what's up, boo?
Oh, you made it live?
I did it all on my own.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Fancy Technology.
Mr. Technology. Someone asked me, they're like, what mic do you use? I was like, I don't know. Just talking to one. Just talking to a mic.
Sorry, we're running just a tad bit late. I'm pulling everything up, and then we'll get started. Just let us know if you can hear us well. We've changed the position of the microphone just a smidge. Hopefully you can hear us better. But we shall see. Hopefully you can see us better. All good. All right, great.
Let's let Joe see if Joe will retweet it.
All right.
So what
how's everybody doing?
What should we talk about? Sydney's watching.
Just to give you a glimpse behind the
What's
scenes.
up, Aubrey?
Just to give you a glimpse behind the scenes. This is actually a computer gaming headset.
Dork. Yeah, because you play. Don't you play Fortnite?
I played Fortnite for a bit, and then I moved on to bigger and better things. I played what's it called?
There are better things than Fortnite.
I played PUBG for a very long time. Adam Mulligan was my partner.
Oh, really?
Nights. Yep.
Five Stripe Stunner.
Yeah, he was my
Was he
partner
good?
most nights. Oh, he's better than me for sure. He'll tell you. He'll be the first to tell you how much I. Well, no, he's a good dude, but I sucked. He definitely held me up. Then I got into a game called Scum, which is basically a survival game. There's absolutely no point in the game other than to survive, and everyone seemed to basically turn it into.
Can you kill other people?
PUBG. Yeah, so you can, but a bear could also kill you out of nowhere. It's pretty fun. All right.
I think we've got our retweet.
Sorry, one more time.
Oh crap.
Giving away prizes on the pod tonight. All right. Can you hear yourself?
Should probably turn my mic on.
There you go.
These are good.
Fantastic. Let me pull up one more thing.
All right.
Gotta get my show sheet and my notes. Sorry guys, hold on. Just a bit of news. We're going to have, hopefully, if everything goes smoothly, our first YouTube episode of things to come. Hopefully that happens tonight. We shall see though.
Talking Tactics.
Talking Tactics.
Is that what we're going to call it? Talking Tactics with an N?
I mean, we can, yeah, that sounds
I like
good.
it.
Let me just check level.
All right, cool. We're going to start soon, I promise. What did y'all think of the game? What did you guys think of the Xolos game? I like that 3-4-3.
All right, ready to roll?
All right.
What's up, Atlanta? This is the Mouths of South podcast brought to you by Dirty South Soccer in the palatial 680 The Fan Studios. I'm Eric Quintana. Next to me, Josh Bagriansky. Franco out for the night. Sam, that is. And unfortunately, and Escobar last night.
Both Francos are out.
Both Francos are out. Great to see you, Josh.
Good to see you too, man.
Tough day last week.
Did you tell everybody my plight on the radio? Or,
I don't remember if I did or not, but you with the
car.
What ended up being the diagnosis?
It was my starter.
All
Starter went out, and I got it back. I had to get it towed out. was real embarrassing because I was actually coaching at Druid Hills High School, and I got in my car to leave, and my car wouldn't start. And so, of course, I never heard the end of it from a bunch of 14, 15-year-olds who can't even drive yet. So that was pretty awesome. But we're back and running. I'm here in the studio, and what really sucked about it, Eric, was we were going to debut last week the first episode of. We've decided on the fly here to call it Talking Tactics.
I'm pretty sure someone's taken that one. But
sure, come on.
We're going to steal it.
Yeah, it's a southern thing. But yeah, so we were going to record that. We're going to do a Miguel Almiron kind of recap of some of the things we liked about him during his time in Atlanta, what we can kind of expect from him in Newcastle. So we're going to hopefully record that tonight, and you guys can check that out. Eric and I are going to put this together, not necessarily every week, but we're going to go through the tactics. We're going to kind of break down the film and kind of visually try to show you guys what's going on the pitch. So stay tuned for that.
Thanks to everyone that's watching on YouTube. We're going to find a way to we're going to give you guys a prize. We'll give you guys a chance to win a prize at some point in this stream. Those in the podcast, we're going to give you something or an opportunity as well. So stay tuned for that. That'll be here in just, we'll surprise you when it happens.
Good tease.
Atlanta United, 6-1 win over U20 Joros. And I think there's a lot of overreaction. There's a lot of
yes, there is.
I think you would be surprised to hear people underreacting. I think the underreactions are they did it against a U20 team. I think there's a good balance of both. On its face, 6-1 win. That's exactly what you want to see out of Atlanta United in its first watchable preseason match, preseason friendly. You would be nervous if Atlanta United went out and didn't win 6-1. You'd be nervous if you went out and Atlanta United struggled to get anything in the attack, struggled to get shots on goal, struggled to really create any chemistry, really get anything going up the field. That obviously didn't happen. I'm not shocked by the result. I think there were some good takeaways. I also think that you're going to have this conversation under the umbrella of you got to consider the competition.
Yeah, I think at this point, I mean, really even regardless of the competition, but obviously it wasn't the best. It was more or less a C team that you're going up against. The performance is what matters more. I mean, it's about fitness. It's about sharpness. You know, one thing I've heard a lot is that Atlanta United should be playing a certain type of competitive match before CCL comes up here in a couple weeks. And I don't think that's really the case. I think it's much more about just getting your footing, getting used to the new manager, getting used to PT Martinez. And it's much more about the performance and the sharpness right now. And fortunately, that correlated with a 6-1 win. But I don't think that's really going to be par for the course when you start to play more difficult teams. But the performance, very good. And maybe some small takeaways tactically, maybe some small takeaways in terms of which spots in the 11 are up for grabs. So we have a little bits and pieces we're starting to see of the new Atlanta United.
You liked what you saw out of Arco. You liked what you saw. Well, you weren't surprised by what you saw out of Hitty. Joseph is, even in scoring 4 goals, it's not a surprise. There wasn't, I guess what was a surprise was the way Atlanta United played. It wasn't even a surprise because we expected some change. But if you notice, and I'm going to use the 4th goal as an example, started all the way essentially as far back into Atlanta United's defensive third as possible. It gets worked up the field, and then at one point you see Lorenowitz out wide, almost as a right winger. And that surprised me because we're not used to seeing Lorenowitz outside
that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't happen. But this is the idea of total football where you're going to need players to move into these roles as those spaces become vacant. And so Lorenowitz taking advantage of that opportunity helps create that attack going forward, which, look, Lorenowitz has created attacks in the past, but never on the right wing. It's always been centrally. It's always been typically behind, in the defensive half of Atlanta United. And Atlanta United's
from deeper positions, almost always.
Exactly. It's never been on that right wing. So that was just one example of how total football has kind of morphed its way into the Atlanta United starting 11. Obviously under Frank DeBoer and what he's trying to do with Atlanta United, trying to, from what we understand, fit the players to the system.
That's what I'm most pleased with him as a manager.
Is that how you phrase it? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I mean, and he basically more or less said that, and I think I'm really, really pleased with that because you hear about. I don't think a manager, particularly his first season, should get stuck in with one shape, one formation. And we've talked about it even throughout the offseason that Atlanta United is a little bit a little bit light at right back. Not a ton of depth there. If you play 3 in the back, you can put Gressel there. You can put Escobar. You can put Escobar when he's healthy back over there. You have more options as opposed to playing a back 4 where you have Escobar and then Gressel, who's not really a traditional fullback. So you're definitely seeing Frank de Boer playing the system he wants, and it's really all about those 3 up front. We'll get to that in a little bit. But the 3-4 part of it, before the 3 up front, the 3-4-3 is personnel based. We've seen him play 4-3-3 mainly, and using those front 3, I think, in the same way that they're being used in the 3-4-3. But the big difference, based on the personnel Atlanta United have, and I think you could easily say you're thin at right back. There are a bunch of left backs, but you don't really know what you're going to get. This puts a little bit less pressure on those guys to move them a little higher up the pitch, whether it be a George Bello or Mike Ambrose on the left, whether it be a Julian Gressel or Frank Escobar on the right. This takes a little bit of pressure off them. You play 3 center backs. Those guys don't have as many defensive responsibilities, and you're still able to attack in the same way that you would want to in the 4-3-3 that we've been used to with Frank de Boer in the past few seasons that he's managed.
Those in the YouTube chat, if you guys have any comments, thoughts, questions you want us to hit on about the friendly match against Xolos last night, send them our way. We'll be happy to answer them as we go through here. I think that's one of the fun things we saw. Well, fun, but more, I think, anything. I think Frank de Boer is setting up players for future possibilities. For example, we know we're probably not going to start with Franco Escobar at right back or right center back, whatever, to start the season. And it was interesting to see Michael Parkhurst at that essentially right back position.
That was another change, wasn't it? Was you saw Miles Robinson anchoring the back 3.
And I think that Frank de Boer is preparing these players. And I think maybe Lorenowitz in the position of in that moment at least, being that kind of right winger at that particular moment. That was maybe a opportunity, and Michael Parker's opportunity to prepare these players for just any potential issues that might arise. So we know we're not going to start with Franco Escobar. You didn't know, at least to go into the season, what the formation was going to look like. You now know it's probably going to be 3 in the back. Where's Miles Robinson most effective?
I mean, he's been good in the middle.
What was Tata's complaint about Miles Robinson?
Yeah, not great on the ball, right?
Sure. Where is he going to be? Where are those potential mistakes more going to be lessened, or where are they less likely to happen?
If he can, go ahead. Yeah,
they're less likely to happen as the center back in a 3-man back line.
That's because you're usually behind everyone in a deeper position. You're under a little bit less pressure.
Michael Parkhurst has obviously had a ton of experience with the ball at his feet, given the last 2 years. LGP, we've seen what he can do. We're not worried about them in terms of circulating the ball around or anything like that. You want to make the job for Miles Robinson as easy as possible, and moving Michael Parkhurst out to that right back spot in a 3-man back line, it's a lot less of an ask to put Miles Robinson in that spot and ask him to play with the ball at his feet and circulate and be attentive in that regard. It's a lot less of an ask for him than it is for Michael Parkhurst.
I think the Miles Robinson, there were a couple of again, it's early days, but as far as who he picked in his 11, the 2 things that jumped out to me were, first was that Miles Robinson anchoring the 3-man back line. I think it's for some of the reasons you really mentioned, Eric. You want to get guys into different positions they're not used to now, so you kind of know what you're going to get from them later, especially a young player like Miles Robinson, who for the good performances he has not seen a ton of MLS minutes overall. So it's a good time to kind of try him there. You're right, Eric. Less pressure on the ball when you play there, but at the same time, a lot of defensive responsibility because you have to clean up anything.
Which is his strength.
Yeah, exactly.
To his credit.
So I think you're putting him in a spot to see what you're going to get from him later. But the other thing that was interesting, so Robinson slots in the back 3 instead of likely Laurentowicz, and then Nagbe ends up playing with the reserve team against Cal State Fullerton earlier in the day with Laurentowicz and Remedi as the 2 holding mids in the 3-4-3. So that's another interesting part of this. If we just go back to front, the Miles Robinson start was definitely the story as far as who Frank de Boer chose in that 3-man back line. But I think when you get into the 4 men in midfield, in a 3-4-3, you really have to have your 2 center mids have to be pretty defensive minded. You don't want to get caught isolated when you just have two center mids instead of 3. So if you think about that, it makes more sense to have Laurentowicz and Remedi be that pairing instead of a Laurentowicz and Nagbe or a Remedi and Nagbe, because Nagbe likes to go up the pitch and roam a little bit. You can't do that as much in a 3-4-3, because if you do that, you're going to leave one center mid deep, isolated in the middle of the field, as opposed to two center mids, which was the case last year, where whether it was 3-5-2 or 4-2-3-1, you're playing three through the middle. So that was the big, and again, it's early. We have to see how DeBoer handles his 11. But if you're going 3-4-3, you get the early inclination that maybe DeBoer prefers two more defensive-minded center mids in Laurentowicz and Remedi than playing a Darlington Nagbe. Is he the odd man out in that formation?
We do have a bit of an update on why. I know there was a lot of questions as to where Nagbe was, why he was only playing with the reserves. Everyone jumped the gun on thinking that either Frank DeBoer doesn't like him, or
was there something about he wasn't appearing in Instagram videos or something? So,
like, I mean, it all comes down to apparently he just showed up to camp a day late. We don't know what the reason for it. It's not to say that not to say this is a disciplinary issue. It could be, maybe he had a family emergency, maybe he had something he still had to take care of at home. Something delayed him from getting to camp on time. It wasn't. He also mentioned before the match, and this is from Doug Robertson's piece that I'm trying to pull up, but I can't find, that he didn't feel fit enough. So hence why he played with the reserves.
Okay.
So he's still trying to work up the fitness to a point where he can play with the first team. That makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
We didn't know that before. Now that we've seen the preseason match against Joros, we know that we have some context behind why he wasn't playing.
But it'll be interesting because like I said, if you go 3-4-3, I don't know if he fits as well into that system as he did in Tata Martino's 3-5-2 or 4-2-3-1. We'll see.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I mean, you are paying him more. Look, the money is a factor. I'm sorry, it is. At least at the beginning of the season, you're paying Nagbe to
it's
be
hard
that
to
guy
keep him off the field. And, honestly, he might be a guy that could play. We know they can play wide in a 3-4-3. He might be a good option, not to play wide up front, but as kind of one of those guys on the outside, because he has played wing in the past, but he's more of he's not necessarily a guy that's going to excel in the final third. So maybe you see him on the outside of that four-man midfield as well.
Just so that I clear everything up, Doug Robertson was saying that arrived late to training camp in California. DeBoer didn't say why Nagbe arrived a day late. So again, we can only speculate. But if it's not a disciplinary thing, I can only imagine that he had something he had to take care of and he couldn't get out of it. Played the first half with the reserves against Cal Fullerton yesterday, and he didn't feel he was ready for a full match. DeBoer said that Nagbe may start in the midfield in Sunday's friendly against LAFC.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see rotation.
Yeah.
All these guys are going to get chances with the first team because you have to see them first. Yeah. I mean, I think we'll see what happens with Nagbe. I do think that he's a guy that could be the odd man out, but I don't think it's because he showed up to training a day late. I think it has much more to do with his skill set and how it fits in Frank DeBoer's system.
Look, I still feel like Laurentowicz is the odd man out here in this trio of defensive midfielders.
Unless you move Laurentowicz to center back. That's something we talked about last year. That we thought Laurentowicz was probably, the club was expecting Laurentowicz to be a more rotation guy that you brought off the bench, started it in matches where you needed kind of a defensive stalwart center midfield. Instead, injuries forced him to play virtually every match. This year, the plan might be kind of like you just alluded to, Eric, that he's the odd man out, but it's kind of the plan, right? Because you can bring him off the bench as a center back. You can bring him off the bench to get more defensive through the middle and midfield. So
for all we know, that's exactly the plan. Laurentowicz is starting at right back, and you're moving Michael Parker. Center back, and you're moving Michael Parker back into the middle. Kind of moving up the field. We mentioned the midfield a little bit. Tell me about Breck Shea. What you thought about him?
It was okay.
You thought he was okay?
I
got really excited at the potential that he displays.
I would say it's going to be interesting. I mean, again, it's going to be really interesting because Breck Shea, if he starts on the same side as Barco, you have two wide players that, I mean, Barco is not a defensive guy. And in Frank DeBoer's system, the goal is to give those wingers as little responsibility as possible. So you have Breck Shea behind him that's going to get isolated 1v1, and he does struggle defensively at times. I think the one goal that Cholos scored stemmed from him failing to get ball pressure in time. By the same token, when you think about the attacking prospects of a guy like Breck Shea, who's a very creative, positive player and can get forward, get wide on the touchline, while a player like Barco likes to cut inside and create that width, that's a very, very scary prospect for the opposing defenses. I think it's a very aggressive, attacking-minded pairing when you go with a Barco and a Breck Shea down the left. I thought he was decent, though.
I thought he was good. I think that hopefully he continues to kind of build chemistry with the team and kind of build his what do you want to call it? His creativity on that left side. Look, I hope that he is a better. I'll say a better version of Garza when it's all said and done, because I think both of them are outside of the physical freak that Breck Shea seems to be. I think they're essentially the similar players.
Similar. I mean, Garza, I think I would say a little bit better defensively, but I think Breck Shea has that in his wheel. I mean, it's not like he needs to be a dominant defender. He's got 3 center backs in behind him covering.
And when I say they're similar in what they do, I mean more.
They're attacking minded.
They're attacking minded fullbacks.
Yeah.
That have similar. Look, I think Breck Shea. I think he's proven in the past he probably has a better shot than Greg Garza does.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can be a little bit more creative than what Greg Garza was. Not that Greg Garza wasn't creative, but I think that Breck Shea is.
There's a reason Breck Shea has played as an attacking winger as well as a fullback.
I think there's a little more there with Breck Shea.
Yeah.
And look, I hope because as much as I like to see George Bello, I would love to see Breck Shea just shine in the system.
It would be really fun to watch when you consider his skill set. And I think left back, similar to the positions we just kind of discussed, we're going to see rotation there. We're going to see George Bello. We're going to see Mikey Ambrose. And we're going to really see it's going to be a battle for the starting 11 there. So you can start that. Again, assuming you stick with the 3-4-3, you've got kind of a battle for that spot on the left side. So that's definitely one to follow on the left side of the pitch.
Only person that I really thought not struggled, but just didn't have a great match was Remedi.
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
It was the only one that I thought, all right, he looked a little rough. Maybe he's still getting to the swing of things, still getting back into the swing of things, into preseason form. Maybe he is in preseason form, just kind of working his way back into things. He's the only one that I thought struggled, had some bad passes, and seemed to kind of be. And look, for all we know, it could be him just still adjusting to what Frank de Boer wants in his system. It's not a knock on him yet. I mean,
it's the first preseason.
Exactly. Yeah. If this continues, then that's a different discussion. But outside of that, I thought everyone, and we're going to move into the attacking players in a second.
Let me touch on Remedi real quick before we go to the front three. I think what you were saying with him kind of struggling to fit into the system, and this will actually segue really good into what Frank de Boer, what Frank de Boer wants from the front three, is that he wants those 3 players to stay high up the pitch. So the players behind them, he wants them to play forward to them and not play negatively. And you saw Remedi a few times turn the ball back, turn back and play drop to the defense, as opposed to playing direct forward balls, which is more of what Frank de Boer wants. So certainly, and again, it has more to do with legs, first preseason match as far as his performance. But I did think there was a little bit of him learning tactically what de Boer wants, because again, you saw him several times with space in front of him, and instead he settled down, tried to hold possession. And what Frank de Boer really wants is to hit those 2 wide men somewhere on the pitch and have them turn it and create a 1v1 matchup with the defense.
I thought Lorenowitz, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
I thought Lorenowitz, for the most part, sticking in the midfield. And I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but Lorenowitz going forward, I thought was very interesting to see. I thought it was just something different that I hadn't seen. I almost got him confused for a while with Gressel. Every now and then I'd see him so far up the field, I was like, that's Gressel. Nope, that's definitely not Gressel.
Yeah.
The movements were similar, and I thought that you replace Lorenowitz with Nagbe, and you imagine what Nagbe looks like in that position going forward. And I think you get a lot of what you got out of Nagbe in the MLS Cup match.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, attacking, willing to kind of get into that final third and try to put something together, either by himself or get his teammates involved. I'm very optimistic to see what Nagbe can do. Look, Lorenowitz played great, but again, we touched on this before, but Lorenowitz I think has a more super sub. I think it's off the bench, Tito, Lorenowitz, and then we'll see who the third one is.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part. Probably Kratz.
Good. Yeah, right.
Probably Kratz.
Contractually obligated to play off the bench. The front 3 are really interesting. You mentioned Tito being maybe the odd man out, even though he did start the match.
And look, it's not a knock against Tito. He just happens to be the best player in
I mean, yeah, so, and he
the
could,
fourth best player.
He's clearly good enough where he could play his way into the 11 and force either Barco or PT to go to the bench, or force DeBoer to maybe change the shape so you can get all three of those guys on the pitch at the same time. I think to me the reason he's the odd man out is I think you look at PT Martinez and you look at Ezequiel Barco. They're both maybe going to start as wide players, but they both have and can play the cam position, the number 10 position underneath the striker. And basically, if you watch tactically what DeBoer wants from the two attacking wide players in the 3-4-3, it's for them to receive the ball in space and run at the defense. So that could be in a wide position, but that could also be, we saw this a bunch of times, them sucking in and coming underneath the striker and receiving the ball where a number 10 would typically be. As we discussed earlier, you don't have a number 10 because you only have two center mids.
Yeah.
So those two wingers are allowed to drift inside and fill that space there. And those two players, Martinez, PT, and Barco, are more comfortable in the center of the pitch doing that because they played the number 10 role over their careers. Tito Villalba is much more of a run straight at you type of winger. I look at it like this. There's a reason PT Martinez, a left footer, has played on the right a lot. The reason Ezequiel Barco is a right footer has played on the left inverted because those guys are comfortable cutting inside and playing underneath. And Villalba is a different type of guy where he's played on the right mostly on his strong foot, where he wants to run powerfully right at the defender as opposed to kind of cutting in diagonally. So to me, he might be the odd man out because if you look at when you just look at what DeBoer wants from those two wide players, it suits the games of Barco and PT Martinez much better, in my opinion. But let's see what happens. It's early, but let's see.
Do you envision Atlanta United being a team that plays direct to, let's say, Villalba? Let's say something does happen and Villalba is forced to play. Is this a tactical setup where Tito, assuming he's in the game, would get balls lofted over the top and he'd be able to run onto him?
That's true.
Here's the thing. I don't see that. I see, especially with the reserves, I saw a lot of buildup from the midfield, a lot of triangles, a lot of quick passes, and there wasn't a lot of. And the only reason I bring up the reserves is because I feel like that is where you got the purest version of what Frank DeBoer wanted to do. Because if he's going to drill it and instill it in anyone to learn what exactly it is to play in this Frank DeBoer system, it's going to be in the reserves. I think you're going to have a little more freedom with the first team because of the individual talent that they have. So
true.
That being said, Tito probably, again, isn't going to be the first choice, at least to start the match. Now, what he can do off the bench is going to be just as important, just as vital to the team, because as crazy as his schedule is going to be, you're going to need Tito. This is not to say this is not to say that just because Tito's not in the starting 11, that does not mean that we want him gone. That does not mean that he doesn't have to serve a vital role of this team. Absolutely, he does. It's just not going to be with the starting 11.
That's great depth you have with the wide players.
Absolutely.
Those three. I mean, you can even throw a Gressel in there. I mean, everyone will want us to throw Andrew Carlton in there, obviously. I mean, you have really good depth and creative players in those wide positions. And, what you say, Eric, that's my prediction. It's true. But Tito Villalba is absolutely quality enough of a player to force Ezequiel Barco. Less likely PT Martinez, but he's absolutely quality enough to force one of those wingers off the pitch if he's playing his game. Like I said, I just don't know if this particular system suits his style of play with what Frank DeBoer wants from the wingers.
I saw a comment and we're going to move to Barco now. I saw a comment in the chat. Based on form right now, I don't see how you can bench Barco. It comes from Nathan Lyons. I'm not dogging on you, Nathan, but I said the same thing about Carlton. I said the same thing about Bello. I need to see more consistency. I need to see him do it against grown men.
It's hard to say form when there's been two preseason matches. He looks great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I'm not denying that. He looked awesome.
Yeah.
But it looked like the entire squad. I mean, the entire squad was a bunch of professional grown men playing against college kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't. The exciting part about Barco, I don't think, is his form so much.
I know Jodos didn't put out college kids, but you get the point. Age-wise, they were all essentially college.
I think it's not. Yeah, I see. Keeping Barco off the field, I don't think you can look at current form because it's preseason. It's not even about form right now. It's about just finding your sharpness and your fitness. I do think that the reason Barco looks a little different as opposed to last year, aside from the fact that he's probably had another year of seasoning, he's more mature, things like that. But the system just suits him better. I mean, it's a system that gives total free load to the wide players, and we saw Barco all last year. It's drifting to the other side of the field, drifting underneath the striker, where Tata Martino wanted a little bit more structure from his wide players in terms of coming back and defending. Now he has the freedom to drift all over the pitch, and it just suits his game so well that it makes him look like a different type of player from last year. But really, I just think he's in a better position to succeed, and he's probably had a year of seasoning and was probably a bit humbled by what happened last year and matured a bit.
Look, he looked like a kid who knew he had to prove something.
Yeah.
He looked like a kid that had heard all the criticism from last year and thought, okay, this year completely different. We're going to change everything. I think the fact that Joseph Martinez is his roommate right now, I think that's going to hopefully change his mindset. And look, we don't know the extent of everything that happened last year. We just didn't know it didn't go well for Barco. So new season, new coach, new tactical setup. I agree with you that I think under Frank de Boer, not only does he have the freedom to do more of what he's able to do, he's able to express his soccer skills a little better, but he's also got players around him that I think fit his game better. So the one thing that I never saw that I thought would have helped is players running off of Barco as he's dribbling. Give him an option outside of just Almiron at the top of the box or Garza running down the sideline. I think what you get out of Pity, what you get out of Joseph is guys that could go into those tough spaces where it's not going to be a through ball that Joseph that can run onto. I think when it comes specifically to Pity, you can play him a ball in a tight spot with players around him, and he's confident enough that Pity's going to find a way. It's not going to become a turnover. Joseph's the same way. Joseph, at least seemingly, has become a guy that is going to come back to the ball. At least late last year, it seemed like he became more comfortable.
Absolutely did.
I think that's going to help Barco's game big time. I think the fact that you're going to have players, the fluidity of the system is going to help Barco find players a lot easier. Now it's up to Barco to actually make these passes, find these players, and play to his teammates, to the strength of his teammates. Now, if he doesn't do that, then obviously he's going to have another bad year. But given the one preseason game we've watched, he looked great. He was supposed to look great. Yeah. He's a fantastic young player playing against kids that clearly aren't at his level.
And we're seeing exactly what we hope to see from him.
Exactly. You'd rather see this. You'd rather see this against a U20 Jolo side. You'd rather see what the reserve side did against Cal Fullerton. If they didn't do what they did, if they didn't win 6-1, if Atlanta United, the reserves didn't essentially dominate the entire match against Cal Fullerton, even though the scoreline didn't reflect that, but whatever. You'd rather see that than not at this stage. It's a good sign of things to come, but it's not the final story of what Barco's going to be, of what Pity's going to be, of what Joseph Martinez. Joseph didn't surprise anyone. Joseph did exactly what he did. We're all amazed at the fact that he can score 4 goals, but is that really a surprise?
Same old Joseph. He's incredible. I'm fascinated by this season, man, because last year we knew, I feel like last year was kind of the end of the 2-year project with the team starting. You had Tata Martino, you had a system for 2 years, you had Miguel Almiron, your talisman, who's, basically a 2-year player before he goes over to Europe. And now there's just so much newness to it as far as the tactics and, the changing role of Ezequiel Barco and the shape and who's going to start in the center midfield. It's really fascinating to me and fun to me that we're going to learn some new things about these players in this team just because you lose, maybe your 2 most influential parts of the team in Miguel Almiron and Tata Martino. So you're seeing the differences, and in some instances, certainly the case of Barco, I think you're seeing some guys' ability to flourish because, number one, the system suiting him, but also, and this thing we talked about all last year, Eric, Barco and Almiron were not a particularly good pairing for each other.
Yeah,
we just talked about Barco wants to cut inside, and he wants to probe on the ball.
And what Almiron would do, what Almiron would do was more than anything give him the space to kind of run into, as opposed to making himself available. He would make himself available, don't get me wrong, but it would be in a position that wasn't. It would stall the attack more than move the ball forward. Their games
just didn't mesh. We talked. The attack was built around Miguel Almiron running at pace on the counterattack, and Ezequiel Barco is just not that type of guy. And if you think about it with the specific shape, with Ezequiel Barco cutting in from the left, if you have Miguel Almiron playing the number 10 position, he's running right at Miguel Almiron. So he has to either pass in the ball. Now he's just running into space. and Joseph Martinez can make it because there's no number 10 in the 3-4-3. So he's running, cutting inside, and there's just nobody there to take up his space, and he can hold onto the ball and look for the right pass. So again, something else I noticed, and one of the reasons that I think Ezequiel Parco shined.
It was a match that gave you a lot of hope. A lot of hope for things to come. I'm not at the level of some of these some other people where you're talking about going undefeated all season, which
it looked great. I mean,
no, it did really
beautiful. But I did that a few times too. Like, we're doing amazing. Okay, just calm it down. You know, like you're watching a stream on YouTube.
You got to make sure you understand that
15 people in the stands. You know,
the umbrella of context, if you will.
Exactly.
The fact that this is not the Joto's first team. This is
the third team, really.
Yeah,
from what
they had a Copa MX match later that night that the first team was that mostly the first team was going to. So not to downplay what we saw, because again, you'd rather see that than not.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes with a new manager, you see in preseason teams really struggle to adapt to the concepts, and regardless of the fact that I don't think, you know, this, like we said, the result and the performance people might be reading too much into, but as far as the players fitting into Frank de Boer's system, looks like they're hitting the ground running.
Yeah. Pitti looked awesome. Joseph Martinez looked awesome. I think both those guys gave you weren't surprised at all, and we've said this before, but you weren't surprised at all by what they gave you. You saw exactly why you bought Pitti for. How much did we pay for him now? 15 million? How much was it?
It's a little bit under that in the end. I can't remember
how much what that was. Anyways, you saw why you paid the money you paid for Pitti. Joseph scoring his 4 goals. I think again, you have a lot of hope for what's to come. You hope that they build off of what they've done. You hope that Frank de Boer is really instilling the message that he wants to instill into these guys, and that Atlanta United is executing the game plan. That's the one thing. It looked really nice to us, but for Frank de Boer, and again, he said he was very impressed, or he liked what he saw. I would like kind of the behind the scenes. How well did that match? What exactly did he like from that? How well did Atlanta United kind of fit his game plan into the way they play? You know, how did that mixture come about in his mind? I would love to see more of that. Hopefully we see it against LAFC at Bank of California Stadium, February 10th. That is what, Saturday, Sunday? Sunday.
That would be Sunday.
Sunday. Hopefully it gets streamed. I haven't heard anything yet. I don't think it's been announced. I know that we can probably guess it might not be streamed. These matches, look, they're for the players.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'd like to see it. Yeah.
I'd love to see it, but it's okay. Let me see. Any other takeaways?
Those are the main ones. I just
anything from the reserves.
It's so early. I think it sounds like you got a better idea what the reserves did than I did. I watched it through once. I honestly didn't pay a ton of attention.
You saw Carlton have a good match. You saw I think Romario had an okay match. George Bello was asked to play center back, which I think goes to more maybe Frank de Boer asking his players to get comfortable doing. This almost sounds like a Jurgen Klinsmann thing. Get comfortable being uncomfortable or something like that.
Well, no, Jurgen Klinsmann said some good sounding stuff, and that's one of them.
But no, I say that because you don't know what the season brings about. You don't know what kind of injuries may happen. You hope for the best, but getting a guy like George Bello to play a different position, just to at least have some familiarity with it, is good. Yeah, but here's the thing: you saw, and I said basically the same thing about the first team. You saw a bunch of professional players in the Atlanta United reserves playing against college kids. It literally is what you saw.
Yeah. And not even a top college program. I mean,
it's not
just happen to be local.
It's not to say that it looked bad or it wasn't great or there wasn't, you weren't hopeful for what was to come. But again, it's the context that you have to, the umbrella. You got to think about the umbrella.
Exactly.
What the context around this game is, and I think it's important to take away. It's a great sign. Again, I would rather see both these teams score, get into the attack, put some stuff together, and show and give you hope for the 2019 season. That's exactly what they did. I'd rather see that than not, even from the reserves. Just nothing I saw. Again, nothing I saw surprised me. That's a little. It sounds worse for the reserves than it does for the first team, because you're hoping that Carlton, this is the year where he steps up and becomes a, he's battling for
a contributor,
a super sub role. Yeah. George Bello, you're hoping for the same. Anderson Asiedu, what do you get out of him? He will actually look the best, I think. Out of everyone on the reserves,
He's intriguing.
He looked the best.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how it comes about, but I expect basically all the reserves to essentially pay for Atlanta United to the majority of the season, including Carl.
But there's depth. I mean, that might be the case, but it's I'm sure individually it's a pain for those guys, but for the squad, it's a great problem to have, and hopefully you'll see improved performances from Atlanta United too, with those guys getting more seasoning this year too. So I think Carlton. I still think Bello's gonna have something to say about that left wing back spot.
Hey, look,
let's wait and see though.
I want every position to be a heated competition all year. That's how you get the best out of all these players.
And I think you could argue every position, with the exception of Joseph up top, and probably Perez and Parker's at center back. I'd say the other 8 spots are really up for grabs. I mean, we just talked about the center mid issue, the left and right sided wing backs or full backs, whatever it's going to be. Those are both up for grabs, and then both wide spots are kind of up for grabs with PT, Barco, and Tito. Someone's going to be the odd man out. So I mean, if that's a good thing to have in preseason, and that's something that's going to drive you to be better and better, because if you've got 90% of your guys don't necessarily know they're going to be in the first 11, they're forced to go out there and compete. That might be one of the reasons you're seeing such good performances in the preseason so far. Is guys want to keep their spot and perform well.
It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Good point. Nathan chimes in on the chat. Let's lock in PT as a starter. I think I agree.
I think that's a smart move. Any other takeaways from first team match against Club?
I mean, clearly we're going to win every game. That's that's the main takeaway, guaranteed. Yeah.
Clearly. All right.
Last thing.
Go ahead.
If Barco breaks out this year, I'm going to make a lot of people cry. I'm going to make a lot of the haters cry. And Franco is one of them. Sam is one of them. It's going to be great. Some people.
Time out. Let's go
I want to drive some writers out of Dirty South Soccer. You are never going to hear the end of it, people.
Okay. So everyone in the YouTube chat,
the bad Barco criticism people will not hear from. The good Barco criticism I get. But he loses the ball too much, I'm going after
February 7th. We're going to lock in the vault. February 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Josh is saying, should Barco break out, he's going to make the doubters cry.
Going to make the doubters cry.
My question to you, because I know Sam is not watching or listening.
Of course.
What is his rebuttal? Because you know how he is.
Just some normal.
He's going to shift. He's going to shift and then basically explain how
Sam will do the whole, I never said that. And that's the thing. That's the people I'm remembering are the people who didn't have measured takes on Barco. I was critical of him too, but it's like he's an 18, 19-year-old kid. He had injuries,
My big thing, I remember my big thing last year was, look, you spent the $15 million over the course of the length of his contract.
That's right.
You didn't spend it on just year one. So
those are
he's got time to develop.
Some of the finality I thought of some of the takes was absolutely laughable. I mean,
there were a lot of people that wrote him off completely.
I mean, we can go around the world with
the fact that we were talking about getting him loaned out. How dumb does that look now? Again, context.
Well, it's more so because what are you going to do if you can't sell on your own? But I mean, it's just I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I'm gonna make some of y'all cry, straight up. It's gonna happen. And again, I'm not saying he's immune from criticism, but the people who were labeling a player's career at that age, you're gonna hear it, because a lot of people got fooled by that 15 million number, and I think I was disappointing last season as well.
Yeah, I think no one's gonna deny that it was a disappointing year.
You really set yourself up to be. You really discredit your own opinion, honestly, when you say something like that, because it could backfire so drastically if you go after a young player like that and say, hey, like you said, Eric, he's not worth the money, when the money was spent for what you're going to see from him hopefully 2-3 years down the line.
Now, what about a coach that moved on to a national team?
Yes.
Does that damage the credibility a little bit if you think that he's for sure staying?
What do you mean?
When I said that he was.
Oh, you're referring to yourself. Well, I thought you were referring to Sam again because
no.
We haven't called him back out on that because when Tato went to Mexico, and I'm done with him. I'm never. And then we went MLS Cup, and suddenly he's Sam's hero. But that's true. I forgot about. But that's a perfect example. And I tried to get Eric out of that take. If you remember, he said, "I'm 95% sure, 99% sure." I said, "Well, if you say something like that, you're going to get in trouble later, maybe." And,
Look,
and here we are.
Sometimes you just go all in and hope.
I, of course, have never done anything like that, ever. I would never give such a ridiculous
All right, you want to give away a prize?
This is quite the prize, I have to say.
So for those of you that haven't heard, and we put it on Twitter, what we're doing is a night with the crew, the MOTS crew, the Mouths of the South gang.
You guys told me this is a good prize. I don't know if I necessarily agree.
Look, who doesn't want to hang out with us?
Maybe you. I don't know who'd want to hang out with me. Certainly not Sam.
They probably want to hang out with you.
Eric's a nice guy.
More than they want to hang out with me and Sam.
Why? Well,
just a hunch.
Let me tell you, listeners, joke's on you.
Tito, number one. That's number one.
No, it'll be fun. It would be great to hang out with some of the listeners.
So for those of you that haven't heard, what we're doing is, and we've already given away on the radio show, we're doing 3 total invites, so 2 left. Basically, it's a night out with us. We're going to take you out to dinner. We're going to pay for your meal, pay for the couple of drinks. If we happen to tag this alongside a CCL match, again, we'll pay for the first couple of drinks, not all night.
That's good.
But that's something we're looking into. But we're definitely, even if it's not tagged with with an Atlanta United match, we're still going to take you out, have a good time, talk about Atlanta United, talk about soccer, talk about life, love, happiness, whatever you want to talk about.
All that good stuff.
So this is specifically we're going to do something different for the podcast, specifically for the YouTube crew. For those on the YouTube chat right now, the first one to send us a squid emoji to at MOTS Podcast.
On Twitter?
On Twitter. First one to send us.
What if they aren't on Twitter, though? Haha, you should have been on Twitter. You should have been following us on Twitter. I think this is most of our Twitter crew, though. That's here, so first
one to send us a squid emoji to at MOTS Podcast is going to get that invite. I forgot who won last night. I want to give him props because hopefully he listens to the podcast.
Yeah, we had a winner on the show last night. Huh?
Radio show. Zachary Wright called in. Was the 7th caller on the Sports.
Did 7 people call?
7 people called.
What?
People wanted the prize.
So if we just give away stuff, y'all will actually call the radio show.
Yeah, but if we bring up important topics like, do we want to Lauren out Barco? No, forget it.
Yeah, then nothing. Well, okay.
So again, sorry, first time.
Great.
First one to text us, or sorry, tweet at us a squid emoji from the YouTube chat. You got the prize. And as soon as I see one, we'll call it out and you'll be the winner. Any other takeaways you want to talk about? We're going to get into some more Atlanta United-based news.
Let's hit the news. Yeah.
Pogba has joined Atlanta United, and I haven't talked to you specifically about this, but where do you see his fit on the in the?
It's an interesting one. I think that he's probably a guy that fits in that left center back role in a back 3 really, really well. I mean, he's a guy, if you look at him, he's played some left back, he's played a lot of center back in his career. So I think he's a guy that I don't see him as a first team guy, but we have to wait for the salaries to come out, but from what we've speculated, it's not a super expensive contract. He's here for a year. So I think that he's kind of a depth piece that can play in a back 3 and can also probably slide and play in the left in a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 or even in a back 4. So I think he's almost in terms of where he can play on the field, he's a more athletic version of Chris McCann.
Yeah.
Not the center mid version of Chris McCann, but the version of Chris McCann that we saw play a little bit at center back last year, play a little bit on the left. I think he's a better version of him that can play those 2 positions just because he can get up and down the pitch a little better.
Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I have never seen this guy play.
No?
So
there was a famous, the Pogba brothers played against each other. I can't remember when he was at St. Etienne. The Champions League. I can't remember what the occasion was.
I think I remember the moment, yeah.
And they both at that time had wild hairstyles. Yeah. And I think I do remember the resemblance with he has Florentine has a twin brother actually who also plays professionally, but I tell you that he's going to get mistaken for Paul Pogba all the time.
I'm sure.
In Atlanta.
I'm sure. This is clearly a center back depth.
Yeah.
Signing.
I think somebody might be on the left.
It didn't cost us anything other than what we're paying in wages. Good for Atlanta United to bring someone over that. Look, the Pogba last name. Sure, it's gonna. Is this the most high profile signing?
Yeah, I
mean, in terms of name, just for the.
Yeah,
well,
I remember
remember the Guardado rumors. And what was the other one that we had?
But no one tops Pogba. I mean,
yeah,
of course it's not the Pogba, but I know that the Dirty South Soccer guys were talking about in the writers' room how awesome it was just to put a headline up that Atlanta United signs Pogba, you know. So, but you know, I think it's a depth signing. I think that it's funny people are making a big deal out of it because of his name, just like people are making a big deal about Breck Shea because he wears funny pants. In the end, both of them are just depth signings that are here for one season. Even if Breck Shea starts, you know, down the left side, I think he's seen more as a utility guy that can fill in where you need him. I think it's similar for Pogba.
A couple other news and notes. Something we haven't talked about is the leak of the Atlanta United kit for 2019. By the way, Nathan Lyons, who I criticized earlier.
Yeah, wow.
Nathan Lyons is the, I hope I'm saying your last name right, Lynes.
It's got to be Lyons, right? Linus.
He has submitted his squid emoji to the MOTS podcast Twitter feed. So he is the big winner. We'll get in touch with you, Nathan, in terms of how to, just so we can contact you to set this up. So thank you for playing. Thank you for everyone that did play. Appreciate it. Golf claps to you guys.
And y'all can just come hang out with us. Come to the Gulch before a game match. We can just chill.
Just not paying for your drinks.
Just not, no. One
time
only.
One more opportunity on the podcast, and we're going to save that one for the very end. We haven't talked about the kit release, the kit leak.
Oh, I can't. What do you think the kit's going to look like?
Oh, you haven't heard? You haven't seen? No, a little AC Milanish.
This whole thing
what
is
do you
so
think?
funny.
What do you think?
But since the kit has actually been released.
First of all, do you think it's real or do you think it's like an Atlanta United prank?
I think it's real because if it is a prank, it's a great prank because I don't know, did you and Sam talk about the famous how Escobar leaked the kit on accident?
Yeah.
Okay, so people know the backstory on this. I think.
I mean, it's Atlanta United Twitter, like everyone.
Yeah, right. Everybody knew. I mean, it was. I think the fact that it was taken down so quickly, kind of
probably means it's true.
Yeah, that's not a prank. Now, if they included that thought, let's get it down quickly to make it seem more real would be great. But to be honest, I think it's funny because the club waited way too long to do this. You could have revealed the kit in early January. Surely, I mean, since Franco Escobar has already been wearing it, we already know that the kit is ready to go. So the club waited. They made this big deal about it. Now they want to have Men in Blazers in and have, get tickets to the event.
The other part of the announcement, Roger Bennett, Men in Blazers, is going to be the one that's going to be hosting the kit unveil.
Hopefully they make a joke about who everybody knows what it's going to look like.
Didn't they do that for the King Peach kit?
Did they?
I'm pretty sure
maybe
they did.
So, yeah, because I remember that got leaked in a weird way.
It was Carlos Bocanegra who was like, well, the worst kept secret, and he said something to that effect. Worst kept secret in soccer right now.
Yeah. But I think it's great, man. I mean, I love Atlanta United. I love the organization. It serves them right. You waited way too long to do this. You're doing it right before your CONCACAF Champions League match. You tried to make this big deal about it and wait and dramatize it, and look what happened. But so, I mean, you dug your own grave on that.
In their defense.
Okay.
This is an opportunity to get fans together, to throw an event.
Sure.
And having it be a surprise at the event would have been a big deal.
Sure. My thing is, okay, so do that in January. Do that to keep interest, in the off season or early in the preseason. But to wait this long to do it is just overkill. And you run the risk of something like this happening.
I do wonder, I would like to talk to, next time I see Darren, I'm going to ask him, how do you guys set these dates up? Like, how do you
it's an interest,
for these events? Because I'm wondering, one, it could be the fact that maybe they honestly didn't know until Adidas brought over the new kits.
There can be other factors, right?
It could be
contractually or something like that. But
the way these things typically work is that Adidas basically, Atlanta United and Adidas have basically chosen the kit well ahead of.
Do you like it?
I like it. I'm fine with it.
It's funny because
I think it's different. It also, look, if you're worried about the stripes, the 5 stripes, look, there's 5 stripes on the crest. Don't freak out.
I still call them 5 stripes.
Yeah, there's really no. I'm not hurt about that. That's
I like it. I like it. It's a little. The red is a little louder. It's a little, like you said, a little more AC Milan.
I'm curious what the back looks like. That's the only thing.
The back is going to be interesting.
I've heard a lot of complaints. I think I forget who on Home Before Dark called it the what really looks like a mud flap with the stripes on the back. If it's like that cut off, I don't know. I hope it looks great in the back. That's the only thing I think I'm with most people that I'm a little concerned about. Not concerned. I mean, it is what it is. It's not like it's going to change. But look, as long as we don't get the Columbus P jerseys, I'm good. Which we'll never get, but I'm good.
Save the crew, save the P.
There you go. Let me see. Any other things that we did not hit? Mexico to play Venezuela at Mercedes-Benz Stadium this summer. So Tata Martino
Joseph versus Tata.
Gonna get a chance to go up against Tata Martino and his crew. Hopefully, there's another hat trick in the making there for Joseph Martinez. We'll see how that pans out. I think that's it, man.
There's not a ton of news. I mean, I think right now we're at kind of a point where the roster is more or less set. You know, we might see some.
Have you been on since we talked about Almiron at Newcastle being officially signed?
No.
Who's that? Well, we don't have to get into that. But
I'm intrigued.
Are you excited to see what he brings Monday? Assuming
so
he plays
excited.
Yeah. I think my hope is that he's a starter.
And that'll be one of our topics next week. We'll have
absolutely,
especially if it's a week like this where there's not a ton of news.
I have been wondering how much crossover there will be. So Almiron is this year, and we can all honestly think we're all going to follow. Every Atlanta United fan is going to, well, most of them are going to follow Almiron, see what he does. Let's say Barco goes next year. Is it going to be Almiron and Barco that we're following? Are we going to start branching out into these? Are we going to start new podcasts for
Well, that would be. I mean, yeah, like Atlanta United players abroad, who have left. I mean, hopefully over time, absolutely. But I just think the presence of Miguel Almiron, the smile, the fact that he brought your first title, the fact that he came to Atlanta United when there wasn't a team yet, I think there's always going to be a more sentimental connection to him. But ideally, you'll have guys all over Europe, all over the world who go on to bigger and better things, and you're following them as well. But it's hard for me to imagine a player that people are going to follow as closely because of the sentimentality reasons as a Miguel Almiron.
Are you putting some money down on him scoring?
What's the odds on him scoring in his debut again?
Let me find it.
The big thing is we don't know if he'll be right in the 11 right away. So
someone sent it to me, and I'm trying to find it. But basically, it looked like it was like. Honestly, I have to look at it. I forget what it was, but it was an interesting number. Oh, here it is. Risk $50, win 300.
Wow, was that 6 to 1? 50 times 6.
My math is
50 times 6
terrible.
is 300.
Yeah, there you go.
By my math, so I like it.
6 to 1 odds.
I mean, I wonder. I mean, I like that. And
should we put some?
Yeah, we can put some Patreon on it. Yeah, your dinner is on the line, Nathan. This is it. We're gonna bet it. Hopefully we either do it big or we're going to McDonald's.
I mean, look,
we'll see.
$50 for 300, and Almiron is a fantastic scorer. So, I'm sorry. That is not. That's Atlanta's chance to win MLS Cup.
Oh, God.
My bad.
Not the
I
right.
thought that was the Almiron thing.
I thought the odds were even higher than that.
That's what I thought someone had sent.
It's interesting since now we're reading and getting confirmed.
I mean, look, after you think Twitter was already jumped on that wager bandwagon after Wednesday, considering how good they looked. You never know. Maybe you've already got some bets out there. If anyone's going to Vegas, hit me up. What is it? That's what it was. Yeah,
310 pounds on a $10 bet. So you're looking at more like, like 30
to 1. Yeah.
30 to 1.
Essentially.
Is that correct? I don't want to embarrass my. Yeah.
I mean, in pounds.
Yeah. So, wow.
Let's put some money on it.
I'll definitely put money on that. I don't.
Like $8.
I get so Americans, we don't know how to convert anything. We have our
Someone's gonna hear me say that and be like, "Wow, you are so wrong."
Let's see. That would be $12.94.
I know it was like $2 either way.
Yeah. So
that's typically what it was.
I mean, and it's pretty good odds because, if you want to just kind of take a shot in the dark, because now we're getting confirmed that Almiron was Benitez's guy since mid-December. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he knows the player that you might just want to throw him right into the 11.
Yep. All right. So hopefully we have an update on that. Monday is that match, Newcastle against. Crap! I totally just blanked on who they're playing.
Everton?
I think it is. Yeah, I think you're right.
No, I'm sorry. It's Wolves.
Wolves.
At Molineux. That'll be a great. Wolves are a fun team to watch. So yeah, I definitely. Aside from Miguel Almiron, I think that will be an entertaining 90 minutes.
And look, if you're looking at the prop bet in Miguel scoring against Wolves, I know Wolves isn't a slouch of a team, but.
No, I mean
odds are even better.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're not like this. I mean, I think they're 7th in the league right now, but they have a lot of attack. I don't think they have a great back four. So
I will be watching. Most of us will be watching.
Can't wait to see.
We should put some money down.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We're going to move on to YouTube stuff. So, actually recording YouTube stuff. Tactics. Talking Tactics with Josh Bagriansky.
Yes.
That's what we'll call it. Episode 1, hopefully debuting tomorrow, Friday.
As soon as Eric does his,
if not,
his technology
sometime this
thing.
weekend. We'll see. But that does it for us. You can find us on Twitter at MOTS Podcast. You can find me at Eric G. Quintana. You can find Sam at Sam J. Franco.
You can find me at Josh B914. Like I said, keep an eye out for Talking Tactics. We're going to talk one last time about Miguel Almiron and some of the cool stuff he did tactically in Tata Martino's system in Atlanta. Hopefully we'll be up soon, but it's going to be, you're going to have to listen to me, but there's going to be cool video on there as well, and we can kind of get in depth and show you why he was such an effective player. And I think it's going to transition really well into episode 2 because Miguel Almiron's role, particularly in the 3-5-2, is very similar to those wide wingers in the 3-4-3. So it'll segue really well into episode 2 when we cover that part of Frank de Boer's system and kind of move on to the here and now as far as tactics go and stop looking back to what happened last season.
We're hoping that becomes a weekly thing, depending on how much time, because we're very, very busy people. So we're going to try to do weekly.
Yeah.
If it ends up being bi-monthly, then
sometimes there's not a ton tactically to take out of a match. So it's going to be more like when Eric or I see a theme, when we see something, we're going to come in and then try to break it down for you. And then Eric will go edit all the video, and I'll go home and sit on my couch. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, tag team.
Yeah, you do all the work and I talk. I love it. My kind of tag team.
If you want to donate to the podcast, patreon.com/MOTS podcast. We appreciate any kind of donation, as little or as big as you can possibly. I think we got something like 20 Patreons, so that's nice. All contribute.
We love you people.
$1, $3, $5. I think we had someone contribute like $100 for a couple months.
Whoa.
That was awesome. But yeah, it allows us to do prizes like the dinner invites. So hoping you guys enjoy. If you're listening to the podcast, let's think of a way to give away this. We did a tweet.
All right.
I did one on the radio show.
Here's one I've had for the last few weeks.
Do it.
Not everyone watches The Office though.
Well,
I wanted The Office.
We do pull a lot of Office plugs.
Yeah, so give us an Office GIF, and let's all choose our top 3 and figure out what we agree on, which one made us laugh the most.
Yes. Okay.
Office. So, it doesn't even have to be like a line from The Office. It could be, like Kevin, saying something stupid, and you could say that he's James O'Connor or something like that.
Yeah.
That, so just anything, whatever makes us laugh the hardest with
use an Office GIF to make us laugh.
Yeah.
Any way you want.
Not everyone has seen The Office. What if should we go to more shows or?
I like The Office.
Okay.
I like The Office. So here's the deal. Here's the stipulation. YouTubers, you've already had your chance to win. You technically will have another chance tomorrow morning. Here's the thing. We're going to upload the podcast at a specific time. It's the tweets after that time that we're going to consider. That way, we're going to upload it about, what time do we?
It goes up early in the morning, like 4 a.m. No, early,
now.
So people can get it on the way to work.
Okay,
yeah.
So tweets after 9 a.m. we're going to consider.
Anytime after 9 a.m.
Anytime
February
after 9
8th.
a.m.
When should the deadline be? What do you think? Sunday? Saturday?
Oh, yeah, that's right, because it's not the first one. So tweets after 9 a.m. we're going to consider.
When are we going to close up?
We'll close up 9 in the evening. How about that?
Oh, so
or do you want to take
hours?
it into the weekend?
I don't think everyone listens,
Okay.
especially right now that it's not a lot of time-sensitive stuff.
Why
don't we go till like?
How about before? Let's hope that LAFC, Atlanta United get streamed before that match.
Before kickoff of
Before
LAFC.
kickoff of LAFC. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
All right, let's go shoot some video. All right, until next time. See you later, Atlanta.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Nathan Lines, big winner. Hope you like chicken. Winner, winner.
And whiskey.
Chicken dinner. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the interaction. Have a good night.